Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and LEAP, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with tests, school, and life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the three of us today, we have over 72 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating test prep professional we want to profile today is Mishkaat Rawjee. We are so happy to be speaking to you today, Mishkaat. How are you?
I'm good. It's so exciting to be here. I've been listening to the podcast for such a long time, and I'm so excited.
Well, we're happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do.
So right now I'm located in South Jersey. I actually didn't realize how vast Jersey is. I used to live in Boston.
Okay, I thought you were in, that's where I was thinking you were in Boston. Yeah.
Right. I used to live in Boston, but it's funny because a lot of my students were in South Jersey. So it's actually a great coincidence to be in South Jersey.
That
where a lot
seems
of my students
like an
are.
odd coincidence. And it's funny the way you said it. Like, I found myself in South Jersey, like so many people wake up one day and
Randomly end up in
they
South
look
Jersey.
around at the what is it? The Taylor roll? Is that the big local cuisine? Or like
Is it?
they have some strange customs in South Jersey.
Okay. No, I got married a few months ago, so that's what led me to go to South Jersey.
So tell us not so much about where you are, but tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I tutor mainly for the SAT. I do a little bit of ACT and a lot of GRE also, and then some academic math tutoring.
So interestingly, so how did you get your start in test prep and what did you do before doing test prep?
So I actually started, so I was doing my master's in computer science, and this was in Texas, and I was tutoring on the side, and it was 15 an hour. And minimum wage in Texas is 7.25. I'm making double minimum wage. Of course, I love that. So I started tutoring. It was great. I was, doing it for completely doing my master's. And then when I ended my master's, COVID hit. So I was still tutoring, and it was hard for me to
Were you
get
tutoring on
like
your own, or were you tutoring on the side, or were you tutoring for a company, or were you on like Wyzant?
Great point. I was on Varsity, so
Okay,
it
got
was
it.
one of those like online tutoring platforms. And then for a very long time, I didn't really know what they charge their clients, but I was making 15 and I was happy with that. But after
Must have been a bit of a pleasant surprise to you when you found out how much you could command.
it really was. But and then I mean that's the switch when you're like, oh, I mean, I could be doing this myself and making more money with it. So yeah.
It is interesting in some places where the tutor has no idea what's being charged for their rate, right? It's an
Right.
interesting thing, to go, oh, okay, what percent am I making compared to what they're charging?
Right. And especially when you're a student too, you'll take anything, right? Like when I was doing my master's, I was just working and I was happy to be making 15, right?
Right.
So
Did you start with math subject tutoring, or did you go right to test prep?
interestingly, I went right to test prep. I don't know how that happened. I guess there were just like more online requests for SAT and GRE. So I just had started off with those, which was, very interesting.
My son got his start at Varsity, but so tell me about what kind of
Oh,
training? What kind of training? Because I don't remember for him, but I'm curious, what kind of training did they give you for test prep at Varsity Tutors?
Amy, there was no training at all.
No,
There
of
was
course there was
no
no
training at all.
training.
No,
Yeah.
I'm asking an obvious question because we're in the industry, but others might not be aware of that, right?
Right. So you get into it and that's it. Like you're thrown in. But honestly, I feel like that was a really good thing for me. It was just I just started doing it. And a lot of my students would be like, "Oh, you're like the third, fourth tutor that we had to get through to get you. And we really like you and stuff." So it was just me kind of just feeling that, like I was just happy to like be there and happy to be semi good at what I was doing. In retrospect, I know that I was semi good at what I was doing when I started off, but in the moment I was like, "Oh wow, I'm great at this." And I think that's what it is, you start off, you feel like, "Oh wow, I'm good at this." And then you realize, "Okay, I'm not so good at this." And then you try to get better. So it's like almost like an inverted bell curve where
So what were you kind of doing to get better? Like what did you kind of seek out if they weren't providing you anything?
so I mean, I would listen to your podcast.
Oh,
Or maybe that came after a
we're
few years. It
trainers,
wasn't just
Mike.
it wasn't, it wasn't maybe very early on because, it was just that like side job that I had. So of course, like, my main focus was doing my master's, but this was kind of on the side, but just some self-learning here and there and just looking at the best resources and just doing things like that. And it was just, being on the job. It wasn't very specifically of like, oh, I need this certification or training. It was just very much on the job.
When you were describing the kind of inverted curve of
Bell curve.
learning, listeners can't see her hand, but like
She
it
did.
seemed to me like you were describing the Dunning-Kruger curve. You start out thinking you know a lot, like this is easy,
Right,
and then as you
right.
learn, you're like, wait a second, this is
I
really
don't,
complicated. Is that what
right.
you were going for?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So I was obviously you go through that and then, you learn, you get better, and then you're back to kind of getting that confidence again. And
that's
then,
right.
you join the NTPA and you're at a high again. So,
That's
right.
fantastic. So, a moment of confidence, well, many moments of confidence accumulated to a feeling like you really knew what you were doing. How did your practice evolve from that point?
So it took me a long time to actually get to doing things myself. I was just contracting. And then when COVID hit too, I actually moved back to my parents in India. So for me, I was working all night and I was still like contracting online and it was COVID. So there was a lot going on and I
Yeah.
was fine with doing what I was doing. But then slowly I was like, okay, I need to kind of build my own thing, do my own thing. And that started. I remember I had my first like my own client and I was charging like 50 an hour and I was like, who's gonna pay me that much? This feels like a scam, like why am I
You're
charging
not worth
50
that
an hour?
much. What?
And then you start working and then you get better and 50 an hour
Yeah.
to me seems ridiculous now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's like
that's a big struggle. I remember that in the beginning of like, what am I going to charge? And within like 8 months, I raised my rate because I was like, oh, I think I was wrong. It should be more. Yeah. So
right.
it's a good realization when that happens, right?
And also because joining the NTPI, I remember when I came for the June conference in 2024 in Philly, and I heard the panels and I heard everything. And I immediately after the conference doubled my rates because I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. I need to
Right.
do this.
You start to
But before,
recognize your own, like your proficiency or how good you are, and you realize there's value there. Well, tell us a little bit about being in test prep. What are some of the favorite aspects you have of being in this test prep industry?
I think also because education has a little bit of a bad rep, because in terms of just, like teachers, like they deserve so much, but they make so little. And I think test prep really offers a lot of whatever you want to do, you can do, and you can make money out of it. Whether you're a solopreneur, whether you have a small company, mid-sized company, whatever you want, like you're getting what you put into it. And I think the education industry doesn't see a lot of that in general, but tutoring does, and I feel like that's very valuable to have. And, just I also just feel like when I did my computer science degree and after I never got like a traditional 9 to 5 desk job work like coding all day. And I feel grateful about that every day because
Yeah.
I can't do that. I need to have this. I need to build relationships and talk to people you know, and coding would not give me that. So I think that's like a big part
It
of
always is
why.
interesting to hear like people's backgrounds, like what they set out to be, right? Like I'm going to be a computer science and then going, oh, well, that was an interesting part of my journey or story, but that is not where the story ended, right?
Right. And also you have to think of the time when it was COVID and, computer science grads were making like 6 figures right out of their, forget masters, right out of their undergrad degrees. So for me, I was just getting a lot of hate from like family and friends where they were like, what are you doing with your life? You can make 6 figures right off the bat, but you choose to do this. Like, what is this giving you? But now they see it and now they
Yeah.
understand. So that was a struggle to, help them understand that after so many years.
Well, as long as you understood it first, you understood you had a good thing going and you were
Right,
happy. And
right.
then, of course, success follows, especially when you're good at what you do.
And you just need like 2 or 3 people to be, supportive and
Your
that's it.
cheerleader. Hmm.
Yeah.
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 So that's what you like about tutoring and test prep. Are there any aspects of the practice that you find frustrating or challenging?
So I really don't like how we have an inconsistent schedule. So a typical 9 to 5 is nice because you get up at a certain time, you start work at a certain time, you log off at a certain time. But with us, I'm also a night owl, so I like
Yeah.
stay awake.
I will say, I think in test prep, if we did a survey, I would suspect many more of us actually trend to being night owls because I
Really?
myself am a night
Absolutely.
owl. Hmm.
I could
Yeah.
not possibly go back to a 9 to 5. Or if you're a teacher and you're doing an 8 to 4 or a
God, you're
seven
getting up
to
like 5 in the
three,
morning. Oh, no
that's
way.
horrendous. Now, it's interesting, Mishkat, because it's not just being in test prep or being a tutor that causes our schedule to just fill at every moment. It's also having your own practice. Like
Right.
being an entrepreneur is an extra impact. It's an extra complication when it comes to scheduling because even when you're not directly working with a client, there's still all the other activity that goes into maintaining a healthy flow, a healthy operation, your professional development. And that's usually baked into a 9 to 5, and other people are setting up the work for you, but now you're doing it all yourself.
Right. I think that's also one other thing that I love about, having our own businesses because there's just so much to learn. And I love just, having different things to do and just learning these new things all the time. And it's just so much fun.
Well, especially once you've sort of quote unquote mastered the content, the tests
Right.
themselves,
Right.
then you're not focused. No, most of the time you're not focused on having to improve that. The
Right.
work with students automatically does that every time. But then there's these other pieces, parts you can start to sort of dabble in, and you find,
Right.
like I find now, the idea of business and business development. I never knew I'd be interested in that. Like I like the business of the work is interesting or appealing. And but then of course the work never ends because you can always be doing more stuff, right? So do
Yeah.
you have any insights that you'd want to share with any current or future test prep professionals?
So I think again, when I was talking about the bad rep of just the education field, I also tutors have a bad rep, like college kids are doing it on the side. Like I started that way where I was doing it on the side. So people don't think of it as a real job or a real career. It's just something that you do on the side. So I think definitely with, future and current professionals is, sit with it, take your time, be patient, and you're gonna get better at it. You're gonna make more money. Like it's gonna get better with time. And I think joining the NTPA again was great for that because I get to see you guys and you guys have been doing it for such a long time. And to me, even at, 26, I was like, should I do this? Is it worth it? But then I see you guys and I'm like, okay, you know what?
Did you
I,
have to
I
convince your family? It sounds like from what you're saying, did you have to do some convincing with family that what you were
a
like
little
like
bit.
legitimizing your work? It sounds like you were saying earlier that is kind of where that's
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also more than legitimizing it to them, it was legitimizing it to
To myself.
Of
myself.
course, of course,
Right.
because it's not like saying I'm in computer science, I'm a coder, I have a computer job. Then
Right.
people put that in a bucket and they're like, yeah, that sounds like a job. I'm an
Right.
accountant, that's a job. But I'm a tutor, you're like, well, that really a
Is that
job?
really a
Job.
job?
But it is, and I love that
No, it's a
you had that
lifestyle.
feeling when you showed up at
Yes.
one of our conferences and you saw that. You saw so many amazing, intelligent, successful professionals pursuing their bliss, helping other students this way. The vibe is always good. And yeah, I'm glad that you saw yourself in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what the cool thing is seeing it in other people to me was the sort of end all legitimization of like, no, this is like legit. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Well, so now probably on to one of the most important questions, which is of course, what is something that most of your colleagues would be surprised to learn about you?
Okay, so I actually grew up in India. So I was born in America, grew up in India, and then I came back for my master's. And the accent that I'm using right now, that's not really my actual accent. So I
Oh,
do this thing called code switching where, if I have
Wow.
if I have my students and I have any Americans I'm talking to, I talk in this way. But if I talk to my family like this, they would just be like, fix the way you're talking to
okay.
us.
So then you've got to
Would
share
you
it.
be
So
willing to switch your
share.
code right now?
I
Yes,
feel
I want to.
like I feel like it depends on who I'm talking to. Like it can't just come out with the
It's a
accent.
subconscious switch.
Where your
So,
brain sort of turns a different, you got to go in a different lane, maybe, like of your,
right.
It makes me think of so many famous actors
I was thinking the same
play
thing.
American roles, but then you hear them in their
Oh,
unguarded moments with British accents,
right.
and it's hard to reconcile because the accents are flawless.
Right.
Right.
And it's crazy because I have a lot of family in London. And when I go to London, sometimes I switch to a British accent when I'm talking to people in London. And they're like, stop doing that.
I stopped doing that.
It's so fun for me to just like talk in different accents
You know,
and
considering you
do
have such
that.
a great voice, I wonder
Yeah.
if there's not a future in acting
Yeah.
for you.
Right.
You know what's actually so crazy, guys? I remember one of these podcast episodes I was watching of the podcast, and there was you guys were interviewing someone from New York. I think she was in
Remy,
theater for a really long
Remy,
time.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
She was in theater for a really long
Yeah.
time, and then she started test prep. And I was listening to that, and you guys were talking about how, a lot of like theater kids
Theater.
actually
Hmm.
go
Totally.
on, and I've always been interested in just like theater and
Now, again,
acting
I
and stuff.
think it's what
So,
we have found, at least I think within our community, we
right,
we get along so well so quickly because a lot of the things that are part of our history or backgrounds are similar. Like
right.
it draws something, obviously now I'm not a computer science or a science girl. That wasn't my jam, but it is interesting to find the things that we have in common that I sometimes
Right.
think might be what also makes us really good at what we do, right?
Yeah.
Well, Mishkat, we could obviously talk about you all day. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
If listeners would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So they can go on my website, www.mishkaatrawjee.com, and use the way you spell it is MISHKAATRAWJEE.com.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Test and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.